up, you guys? This is Rob from Guy Plays, and today on Hashtag Confirmed, we are digging into Devstream 117 for the latest Fortuna information, Login 2.0, and some little tidbits on who's going to get reworked next. So without ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about real quick, and I thought that this was really cool of the devs to kind of point out and kind of admit that they're aware of, is the fact that there is a content drought when it comes to Warframe. And it's nice to hear it out of their mouths because there's a lot of people that will say things like, oh, skins are content, oh, new guns are content, but that's not really the main meat of things. It's kind of like things to be able to play. I'm sure you guys have heard me use the phrase, oh, I'm on Warframe retirement, and that's kind of like, I want to play your game more, but there's really nothing for me to do. So this is kind of like their way of owning up to it and saying, yes, we've got our heads down for Fortuna, but they're going to be looking at the way that they structure their content releases in the future, so there won't be such big gaps, which I'm appreciative of. If they know what the issue is, then they can end up solving the issue, and sometimes that's all we need. Moving on from that, they did give us some heads up on the way that Fortuna is going to be released, and I thought that this was very interesting. They're actually going to have the main brunt of Fortuna in one big mainline release, and then after that release, they're actually going to have bonus Fortuna content in kind of like a 1.5, because one of the things that they pointed out is Fortuna is getting a lot bigger than they realized it was. Of course, we already know that Fortuna itself, well, not just Fortuna, but the Orbalis on Venus is a larger landscape than they had with Plains of Eidolon. So clearly they're going to need more time to work on that. Then not only are they adding, you know, the extra Corpus troops, the ones that are differing from the normal ones that we already have, Kitguns, and of course all of the kind of standard, I guess you would say, PoE content. But in addition to that, they're also going to be adding in K-drives, and they've got, you know, that weird animal hunt thing that they've got going on. So that's going to be a part of it. The only thing that I'm very curious about this separation of release dates is exactly what's going to be in it. I'm kind of crossing my fingers that they're not gonna starve us of the big spider bots straight out the gate. So it's kind of like Fortuna and the spider bots are all gonna be in one, and then, you know, kind of like extra fixes and like maybe even the quills will be in Fortuna like 1.5 or something. That I'd be okay with, but legit, I want those big, like, I want some challenge in Warframe. You guys know that I've been cheering that on for quite a while, so hopefully those aren't delayed. Hopefully we get those in the main patch. The other thing that, you know, they have made very clear, and they've said this in the past, but they did want to clarify this even further, is that Railjack is not going to be releasing with Fortuna. In fact, we will not be seeing it in 2018. It's actually planned for a 2019 launch. Now, the interesting thing that they kind of pointed out about this is the fact that Railjack is going to be more like an FTL experience. So for those of you guys who have played FTL before, there are parts where people are piloting the ship and, you know, telling it where to jump. There's other parts where you might get boarded on the ship. There's other parts where you have to kind of like fix parts of the ship. So it's not just going to be straight up like jump into a mission combat. It looks like there's going to be different layers. And speaking of different layers, one of the things that they actually did on stream is they showed off some concept art for the bottom levels of your Railjack. Because of the fact that it's not just going to be, you know, the main deck, there's going to be areas of your ship that you need to tend to, that you need to take care of. So not only did they show that, they also showed off like the fire extinguishers, and it looks like they're going to have a maintenance system that comes in with your Railjack. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, this sounds very similar to like Guns of Icarus, but more PvE. So it's kind of like a PvE Guns of Icarus with kind of like, what is it called, with targets that you need to take down, or like, you know, objectives on the map that you need to take on instead of other players. Now, for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with Guns of Icarus, it is kind of like this PvP ship fighting game where you have like engineers, so the engineers kind of like take care of everything. There's weapon people who like man the weapons on the ships, and then of course there's kind of like the captain who pilots the ship. So tons of stuff like that, and it sounds like it's going to be really interesting. They wanted to kind of push the fact that this is not just going to be like, oh, it's just one mission type. No, it's going to be like a whole slew of mission types. It's going to be a lot bigger than what we've seen so far. However, because of the fact that it's so big, it's not going to be releasing in 2018. So keep that out for its 2019 release. Now, kind of working its way off of that, they also chatted about heavy weapons from Archwing. So one of the things that they've been wanting to do is kind of integrate more things from Archwing into the rest of the game, because as you guys know, we had Archwing in its own kind of like separate mission that really didn't affect anything else except for maybe a couple bosses you need to take down. So it's kind of isolated. So then they started bringing it into Fortuna and so on and so forth, and now they're going to go ahead and kind of bring the weapons in as well. So you'll actually be able to use the weapons in kind of real style combats. Now, off of like my own memory, this might have been something off of the ghouls, because remember how they showed before that there was this big chainsaw gun that one of the ghouls wields, and it's like a heavy artillery weapon. So it's being held in that exact same way, where they're showing off the Imperator that's on that's a weapon from Archwing. So I think that's really, really interesting to see it live, and I'm crossing my fingers that they go through, take a look at the Archwing mods, amp them up a bit, and make sure that the damage is proportionate, so that it's kind of like, oh, well, why are we going to use these weapons? Like, what's the point of using these weapons when we can use a different weapon that's just as powerful? Like, what's the point of the investment? Give it a little bit something that makes it unique and different, because they were saying that there might be some drawbacks to using these weapons, such as having to give up your primary and secondary slot, so that they would be your only form of weaponry, which I wouldn't really, I guess I would say I wouldn't really feel bad about if they had enough oomph to kind of carry itself through its own mission, which might be cool, because as you guys know, Archwing weapons do not have any form of ammo, they just regenerate over time. So that might be a great thing that we see there. They also did talk about the Archwing melee weapons, but they said that that is still going to be in process. They want to work on the heavy weapons part first, and then talk about the melee weapons kind of like later on, after everything's a little bit more established. Now, speaking of melee, I'm going to jump down, because I've got everything bullet pointed, I'm going to jump down into Melee 3.0. That's actually something that they didn't really address too much on stream. They did say that it's not ready to be shown quite yet. They have certain parts of it that are working quite well, kind of like the weapon switching, that's bueno. The targeted jumping heavy strikes, so you know how you can jump up and then you get a little bit of pause and then you do a channeling strike downwards. They say that's working fine, and they also have the new rage mode that is basically replacing channeling mode. They all are working well, but it does sound like they need a little bit more polish in order to kind of be able to present it in a way that they want to show it off. So that's going to be really, really cool. Now, one of the other things that they showed off was the Jupiter remaster. There's really not too much to say here, aside from the fact that I think it looks gorgeous. It's gorgeous, it's open, you're able to jump around, there are lots of terrain where your parkour skills will show itself off, and it looks great, but, you know, at the end of the day, to me at least, you need to give us a reason to go back to Jupiter and experience those tile sets, aside from, like, sorties or ESO or anything like that. Like, give us a reason to go back. That's what I would like to see. Now, I think this is the biggest thing. Before we get into the login 2.0, because you guys know that's been a big stink issue for me on my channel, and it's one of the things that I will literally, I guess you would say it's the hill that I'm willing to die on, which nobody might be dying this time around. So one of the other things that they did show off before we jump into that intense stuff, let's look at some lighter stuff, which of course they're showing off the next round of TennoGen. They have no scheduled date for this. Just to let you know, there is no scheduled date, so don't ask, because it doesn't exist quite yet. But they showed off a whole bunch of new weapon skins, which I'm really excited. There's a rapier there that is done by that has been done by Hitsu-san, which I'm very excited about. There's also like a scythe one that looks really, really cool. I'm not sure who did that, but I'll look it up. I might leave a link to the post down in the description box below so that you guys can check on what got approved. However, very, very excited to see the Grax skins on there. So we saw the Zephyr Grax, we saw the Limbo Grax. The Limbo Grax looks so good. I'm really excited for that one. The Equinox from Hitsu-san, absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to get my hands on that and customize it. But one of the ones that I must say, I believe, oh my god, I'm going to feel bad if I name the wrong person, so I'm not going to name the person. Because I always get two specific TennoGen artists like mixed up in my head, but that Gara skin. Boy, that Gara skin is fire! It is looking good, and I'm going to be real with you, I saw the first few drafts of that Gara skin, and wasn't feeling it, but they went back, polished it up, and like really put their nose to the grindstone, and it's absolutely beautiful. So you better believe that I'm gonna be putting some money down on that one. I'm really excited. They also showed off some TennoGen for the operators, which is kind of just like for the face and stuff. We'll talk more about that when we kind of see it. Maybe I'll do like a spotlight episode where I talk about all of the new TennoGen that is coming up soon. But those ones are kind of my picks. I'm really excited, and I can't wait to see them when they go live. Now, the big meat that I'm sure you guys want me to chat about is Login 2.0 has had even more changes added to it, this time for the good. So one of the things that says is it's no longer accurate to the dev workshop, so it is undergoing some changes. The Lodestar Sayandana and Lodestar armor set are no longer going to be selectable. They are going to be set to 800, to day 800 and to day 1000. However, the weapons will be flexible, so you'll still be able to pick and choose what weapons you get. And they wanted to point out and make sure that you knew that the resources you would be getting are scalable. They also showed off the fact that it's going to be a little bit more character driven. I guess the characters in the game are going to congratulate you for logging in. I guess. I mean, if I wanted more character-driven stuff, let's talk about quests. I don't really need to see Ordis popping in and say, congratulations, you logged in again today. I was like, not super interested in that, but you know, all of the rest of the things that they're doing are kind of moving into a better place. They also said the Evergreen Bundle, so they started talking about the Evergreen Bundles, and this is only happening after you've passed day 1000. So you will not have access to these until after day 1000. The first one will be at day 1050. So one of them that they were talking about is 50,000 Kuva. And a part of me was like, DE's trying. DE is really trying. They did say 30k endo, which I'm going to be honest, I kind of rolled my eyes at. I was like, 30k endo? I know I've heard some people say in chat, oh, you know, so there are a couple veterans out here that still need endo too. Baby, Bebs. Every piece of endo that I've ever gotten, I've had to earn myself. I don't know what you've been doing, but I mean, if you need endo, you do you. But I will say, 30k endo is not enough. You should give us enough endo to max out a primed mod. So I would say give it 50k endo, match the Kuva. But as soon as I saw some of these numbers from the Evergreen Bundles, a part of me is like, okay, they're trying to move in the right direction. As soon as they locked out the Sayandana and armor sets, I was like, they're moving in the right direction. Now, me personally, I don't feel like that's even close to enough. Everything that I said in that Twitch stream, I still stand the fuck by. I still feel like, listen, newer players have access to over 300 weapons. Having 3 or 4 weapons locked out to them by daily logins, not really much of an issue. And it's really funny because I hear all sides of this argument. One side of the argument saying, well, you shouldn't be determined to be a veteran that way because it only takes 5 seconds to log in. And I'm like, okay, so logging in is easy. And then I've heard the other side of the argument, oh, I don't want to log in, that's too many days, that's too hard. So is it too easy or is it too hard? Because it seems like it's only too easy when you're not the one doing it, but it's too hard when you're the one that does have to do it. So which one is it? Because it seems a little bit hypocritical out of one side of some people's mouths to say, no, it's too easy, it's not a good representation, it shouldn't be locked behind that. I'm like, then there's other people who are like, oh, but I don't want to have to do it myself. So you got to pick and choose which side you belong to. As you can see, I'm still not 100% filling the login reward system, but here's the big but, you guys. I can't not say that DE's not trying. Like, it really feels like DE's trying, and they're trying to make a compromise. And like, when I'm seeing the numbers of 50k Kuva, I'm like, you're almost there, you know, 30k Riven, or 30k Endo, meh, they're talking about giving away Rivens, don't just give me one Riven, that's kind of crappy. That's gonna happen every 50 days. It looks like they're putting forth effort, and it's hard for me to be angry and be irritated when I see someone putting in effort. Like, as furious as some of these changes make me, I also, for those of you guys who don't know, I actually like DE and I actually like Warframe a whole lot. I actually care about them as a company. And for me to see people that I care about putting in effort and, you know, trying to go forth and make some changes, I can't be angry at them for that. I can see that they're trying. And even though I'm still a little bit like, it's not enough, it might be just enough. It might be just enough for me. So it's good to see them trying. I know that they're still going to be making changes. Like, you know, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, if they spent the time to polish up the Lodestar Sayandana and really make that armor, the Lodestar armor pop, like if they got, because I saw him on Twitter, he tweeted out the fact that he was so proud it was finally his piece of armor that made it into Warframe, because I guess he's a cosmetics designer or something like that, and it was his first piece and it was an armor set and people loved it. I was like, have that guy work to bump up the Lodestar armor set, because the Lodestar armor set looks like shit, to be frank. And the Lodestar Sayandana doesn't look that great either. So if they put some time and effort and polished up those two, I think, I won't say I'd forgive them, but I think it's one of those things that I'm like, you tried and you tried enough. Fine. So I'm gonna give a pass to that if they put in a little bit more effort for it. But we're going to close the door on that, and we'll close out everything else on some more interesting stuff. They did show off the Corpus Glaive, which looks really, really cool. I can't wait to see it, like, in actual game, because I'm sure that they had some placeholder stats or stuff like that. It looked really cool. No sound effects to it yet. Looks gorgeous. The Kitguns also looked really, really cool, and for any of the people who played Destiny 2, y'all, they really tried it, because that was a mini sleeper. That was a mini sleeper that they had equipped. I was like, okay, they also had really original energy effects off of the new Kitguns, which I have some respect for too, because I thought that they looked gorgeous. However, can't wait to get my hands on that, to be honest with you. Gotta see how it all plays out. And then the last little bits that I wanted to talk about were Fortuna or Valis things where Archwings will auto-attach. So that's really, really cool. You could go into like a bullet jump, and if you have your hotkeys bound to your gear, you'd be able to bullet jump and then hit a button, and then boom, your Archwing would be on. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's really interesting. The other thing that they mentioned too, as long as we're talking about kind of like programmable buttons, is the K drives can be mounted and can be dismounted and remounted. So what you can be doing is you could be going off of like a cliff or a jump with your K drive. You can dismount your K drive, go into bullet jump, gun some enemies down, hit X again, will remount the K drive, and you can land in your K drive. I'm really excited about that. I was like, that's kind of cool. I like K drives being used for combat, because I don't like the whole, oh, I'm just gonna skate around. I think that's pointless. Like, it's fun, it's nice, it's entertaining, but it's more of a distraction from game progression than anything. I would rather have like more Warframe progression than more K-Drive stuff, but they did say that they would have some K-Drive combat as well. They were talking about flipping into enemies and it would cause like a radial explosion. They haven't quite gotten it down yet, but they are saying that is something on that they are working on. And we were chatting about, because I was actually on a podcast right after the Devstream, is I would love to see K-Drives incorporated into combat. I would love to see K-Drives incorporated in combat where they would pull stats off of your melee weapons or would allow you to dismount them and fire at enemies as you're dismounting. Because I saw some really cool flips where you would kind of like have your hands in the air. I was like, why not like dismount into a flip and then pull out your secondaries and shoot? Kind of like, you know, like cool, you know what I'm talking about. So that way, when you're dismounting your K-Drive, you could be doing damage to enemies. Same thing goes for like melee weapons, like carry over that stuff, like maybe you could slide into an enemy, smash them with your K-Drive, and then equip your melee weapon, right? That would be dope, because I love, like, K-Drives seem like fun, and don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on K-Drives, I'm just saying they're not progression. But what I will say is, I like beating things up. I like shooting things. I like slicing things. So if I could slide, smack an enemy with my K-Drive, and spin around with a knife and cut him across the face, yes! That's a deal. That I'm really excited about. So they did show that off. I hope that they get that all polished up and we can see that in Fortuna. Please. I need some combat. And last but not least is they did name a couple Warframes that they are taking a look at touching for reworks. So this isn't one of those things where you know, they went really in depth into what they're doing, but they have names on a list that they're looking at, and it went to Tanya, Wukong, and Nyx. So of course Nyx has been a hot topic for quite a while, and I hope she gets the love that she deserves, especially with like the gorgeous skin that we saw from TennoGen from Stench Fury, or even the concept artwork that they had for the concept art for her deluxe skin. Like, please give her some love so that I can feel good about playing her. Not that she's useless. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying she could be better. Moving along to Tanya, I like the way she is now, but she could use a couple tweaks. And then poor Wukong, I don't know. I feel like he gets shat on all the time. At the very bottom of their list that they are also keeping on standby is Vauban, because they don't feel like Vauban got a good enough shake. And a part of me kind of agrees. He needs a little bit more. But regardless, that about does it for the dev stream. There were a lot of little bits to cover, like the improvements on like hunting down animals, which again is not something that I'm super duper concerned about. But they did say that they were improving that. But what I am really curious about is, number one, how do you feel about the Warframes on the list of reworks? Like, which one do you think should take priority over those ones? Let me know how you feel about Fortuna being released in 2 chunks, what you hope will be in the first chunk, and what you're not so worried about being in the second chunk. And does anybody feel bad about Railjack being pushed all the way to 2019, or do you think that is a smart choice for them? I think it's a smart choice for them. Well, that about does it for me for now. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. And just as a quick heads up too, make sure you are following me on Twitch, because we might, after some consideration, get back to streaming some Warframe. Regardless, I will see you guys there. Bye-bye!